This happened about 20 years ago. I was 48 and working on my family's farm. The bills were piling up like the weeds in the fields. I thought I knew that land inside and out, but that day changed everything. I was plowing a forgotten part of the field when my tractor hit something hard. I stopped and climbed down, curious. I pushed away the dirt and found it, a rusted tin box. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside was a map filled with strange symbols and a note whispering of buried treasure. My mind spun with curiosity, but a small part of me felt uneasy. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I needed more information. I stayed awake, poring over the map. That's when I first heard something outside. It was soft at first, like the wind, but then I heard footsteps. They were slow and heavy. I stopped and listened. Silence fell, leaving me with an unsettling feeling. As I delved deeper into the map's mystery, my crops began to wilt overnight. I couldn't explain it. I thought maybe it was just a disease. I told myself that over and over, but nothing seemed right. Shadows danced in the fields when the moon rose high. Every time I blinked, they vanished. I felt eyes watching me, lingering in the dark. I went to town to buy supplies. My neighbors whispered about odd happenings, lights flickering in the fields, animals acting strange. I listened, a knot tightening in my stomach. It felt as if something was stirring. They seemed just as frightened as I was. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was tampering with something ancient. One night, I stood on the porch, gathering my courage. I called out, "Is anyone there?" The cold air wrapped around me. Silence filled the space, but then I heard it, a whisper. It was soft and distant. I couldn't make out the words. My heart pounded in my chest, and I stumbled back inside, locking the door. But what if it was all in my mind? As days passed, the shadows grew bolder. One night, I saw a figure at the edge of the cornfields. I blinked, and it was still there. It just stood, motionless yet menacing. My hands trembled as I gripped the doorframe. I wanted to shout, but couldn't. Was it real? I thought of the map and the treasure, but at what cost? I wrestled with an uneasy feeling. Maybe I had uncovered something I shouldn't have. Then I recalled the symbol on the box, the one that felt like a warning. In that moment, I knew I had to find out the truth. I took a shaky step outside. My breath quickened as I sensed I was not alone. The shadows deepened around me, and the night seemed to breathe. I thought of the treasure and held my breath. But then, all I could feel was fear. Something was waiting, eager to claim me. I stood frozen, knowing deep down I might have disturbed something that should have stayed buried. I stood outside, my heart pounding as I scanned the fields. The air was thick with an unnatural chill. Every instinct told me to turn back, but the thought of the treasure pulled me forward. I took another tentative step, then another, until I broke into a nervous stride toward the edge of the cornfields. Then I saw it again. A shadow, thin and elongated, flickering between the stalks. I froze. It felt as if the darkness was alive, creeping closer, closing in on me. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaky and filled with uncertainty. No answer came, but the air seemed to hum with anticipation. Abandoning caution, I moved closer to the light that seemed to beckon me. My feet sunk into the soft earth, each step feeling heavier than the last. Just as I reached the spot where the figure had stood, a strange sensation washed over me, as if I had crossed an invisible line. That's when I heard it, a low, guttural sound rising from the depths of the field. The ground quaked slightly beneath my feet. I jerked back, half expecting some dark spirit to erupt from the soil. Instead, I found myself face to face with another farmer, a man I recognized from town. His eyes were bright and wild, and his clothes were ragged, as if he had been living in the fields for weeks. "What are you doing here?" I gasped,
the fear almost choking me. "They're coming for it," he whispered, catching his breath. "The treasure. Don't you see? It's cursed. You have to leave. It's been waiting for someone like you." "Like me?" I stammered. "What do you mean?" "The map. You found the map." His face twisted with a mix of terror and longing. "It leads to something that shouldn't be disturbed. You need to understand, it's not just treasure. It holds power, dark power." I felt a deep surge of confusion. "But I thought it could save my farm. I thought it would help me." "Help? It'll doom you." His voice was frantic now. "It awoke something evil. You've disturbed the land, and it won't rest until it claims what it's owed." A sense of urgency flickered in my chest. He was right. The wilting crops, the restless shadows, they were all connected. The treasure was a lie wrapped in a promise. Before I could respond, an eerie silence fell around us. The shadows thickened, stretching toward us like a beckoning hand. "Run!" he shouted, and we took off together, sprinting back toward my farmhouse. I felt panic tightening around my throat as I heard the heavy footsteps echoing behind us, relentless and terrifying. Just as we reached the porch, the lights flickered in the house, plunging us into darkness. I fumbled for the door, nearly slipping in my haste. But the man beside me grabbed my arm. "You have to keep it safe," he warned, voice low.
I didn't know what he meant until I felt a pull at my back, a whirlwind of darkness clawing at my very soul. He shoved a small stone charm into my palm. "It's the only protection you have," he said, his eyes wide with fear. I looked down at the charm, its surface swirling with unfamiliar symbols. The shadows pressed closer, and despite the man's warning, I couldn't help but glance back into the field where a figure stood watching us, its presence looming, waiting. Then everything went dark, and I felt a cold hand grip my heart. I gasped, my breath heavy in the thick darkness. I struggled to find my bearings. The pressure around me, the cold hand gripping my heart, was gone, but the panic remained. I blinked, trying to adjust to the dimness inside my house, but it was nearly pitch black. "Where are you?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The farmer was gone. Had he been real? The stone charm felt warm in my palm, grounding me. I scrambled to find a light switch, but my fingers only brushed against the wall. I cursed under my breath, focusing on the sound of my heartbeat instead of the whispers in my head, whispers that grew louder and more insistent. A sudden noise jolted me. It came from outside, rustling, as if something was moving through the cornfields. My heart raced again. What if whatever was out there had followed us in? I edged toward the window, barely able to make out shadows moving against the backdrop of the moonlit sky. I hesitated. Should I look? But the thought of the dark figure and the man's frantic warning flashed in my mind. "It's cursed," he had said. I had to stay aware. I had to keep myself safe. Pushing aside fear, I took a deep breath and peered out. The shapes darted between the rows of corn, dark and sinuous. I squinted, trying to discern what I was seeing. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of something that sent icy fear coursing through my veins. A narrow, elongated figure, just like the ones I'd seen before. It was real, and it was close. "Get inside!" a voice suddenly rang out, breaking the quiet chaos. I spun around. A woman stood in the doorway, her silhouette illuminated by the faint flicker of the lamp inside. Her face was familiar, one of my neighbors, who had always offered quick smiles from her porch, but never really talked to me. "What's wrong?" I asked, rushing toward her, but keeping an eye on the moving shadows. "They're coming for you. We have to go," she said urgently. "I heard the noise from the fields. They're attracted to the charm. You shouldn't have." "I didn't mean to," I interrupted. "It was given to me. I need to figure out what it is." "They're drawn to it," she insisted. "You think you can just keep it and everything will be fine?"
It doesn't work like that. We need to protect ourselves or get out of here. Just then, a loud crash interrupted us, echoing from the side of the house. My heart raced anew. I turned back toward the noise. Something, or someone, was trying to get in. What was that? I breathed, feeling dread seep into my bones. "They're here!" she shouted, panic rising in her voice. "We have to hide or leave now!" Just as she finished speaking, a shadow unfurled, casting darkness over the room. I realized, with mounting horror, that we had waited too long. "Someone is in the house," I whispered, trembling. Then a figure stepped out from the shadows, and everything I thought I understood shattered into pieces. I stumbled backward, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure towering before me was dressed in ragged clothes, the kind one might wear when toiling under the sun. His expression was wild, like a cornered animal. I tilted my head, trying to make sense of him. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, fists clenched around the charm, as if it could protect me. "I'm sorry," he muttered, his voice hoarse. "I didn't come to hurt you. I'm trying to help." "Help? By breaking into my home?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. I glanced at my neighbor, searching for any flicker of recognition. Her face was pale, eyes wide with terror. "There's no time," he continued, urgency lacing his tone. "They're coming. The charm, it's drawing them here." I felt the charm's warmth pulse in my hand, as if responding to his words. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "The curse," he said, glancing warily toward the window. "It's tied to the land. When I found that charm years ago, He stopped, swallowing hard. "I thought I could control it. I was wrong." "What happened?" I pressed, hoping for some clarity. He ran a hand through his unkempt hair, eyes darting as if watching something I couldn't see. 20 years ago, I disturbed something in those fields. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to find treasure, but I awakened a darkness instead. I caught my breath, a chill snaking down my spine. "Are you saying it's your fault? The things in the cornfield?" "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he cried. "But now that you have the charm, it's drawn them back out. I need your help to put things right." While I struggled to process his words, another crash shook the house. My heart raced as the shadow outside pressed closer, the whispers turning into a low growl that filled the air. "Oh no, they're here!" my neighbor yelled, panic gripping her voice again. "Listen to me," the farmer insisted. "We don't have much time. If we don't leave now, they'll find us." I hesitated, the weight of the charm in my palm anchoring me. Should I trust this man?
Could he truly help? Every instinct screamed to run, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was in the middle of something far bigger than myself. Suddenly, the door cracked open and cold air flooded the room. "Run!" the farmer shouted, pushing me toward the back of the house. A low, guttural sound echoed from the darkened porch, thick with malice. I turned to see a form creeping in, a shape like the shadows in the field, the elongated figure lunging closer. That's when I saw it, a thing with hollow, glowing eyes, staring straight through me, hunting me down. I stumbled backward, my vision blurring with fear. There was no more time for questions. I had to decide, stay and fight or run for my life. I bolted toward the back door, the farmer right behind me. My heart thundered in my chest, drowning out the shrill whispers that seemed to echo through the very walls of my home. "This way!" he shouted, yanking open the door to the narrow alley behind the house. The cold hit me like ice water. I forced myself to move, adrenaline surging as I sprinted into the night. The alley was dimly lit, lined with old wooden fences that creaked under the weight of the darkness. My neighbor scrambled behind me, her breaths frantic. "Where do we go?" she gasped, glancing back at the house, trembling with terror. "Just keep running," the farmer urged, glancing over his shoulder. "We need to get away from that charm." "Wait!" I shouted, feeling the weight of the charm still nestled in my palm. "What do you mean? Where are we going?" He hesitated. "We have to find a safe place. The barn. It's the only spot that might offer us some protection." The memories flashed in my mind, the whispers, the shadows, the glowing eyes. "They'll know where we are if they can sense the charm," I said, trying to reason through the chaos. "They're drawn to it, yes," the farmer said, his voice tight with urgency. "But if we can reach the barn before they catch up, we have a chance." I nodded, fear mixing with something else, determination. We fled the alley and rounded the corner, ending up on an overgrown dirt path. The moon peeked through layers of clouds, illuminating the path ahead. As we moved, a bone-chilling howl echoed behind us. It seemed to rise from the shadows, wrapping around us like a noose. I stumbled, nearly falling. "Keep going," the farmer shouted, pulling me back on track. Then I noticed a flicker in the distance. "Look, the barn!" I pointed, the silhouette against the night bringing a sense of hope. But then I saw it, a shape darting just outside the edge of the light. The creature. Its thin limbs stretched impossibly long, bending as it ran with an unnatural speed. I could feel its gaze, heavy and predatory. "Faster!" the farmer urged. We picked up speed, my legs burning as I sprinted for the barn, the shadows swirling around us. One glance back sent a new wave of panic crashing over me. It was right behind us. I reached the barn door first, yanking it open and stumbling inside, breathless. The air was thick with the smell of hay and earth, a small comfort in the chaos. My neighbor followed, slamming the door behind her. "Is this safe?" she panted, eyes wild, scanning the dimly lit interior. "That depends," the farmer said, face drawn. "We have to find a way to contain the charm. If we don't do something now—" He trailed off, eyes darting. A loud bang echoed from outside, making us jump. The door rattled on its hinges, and I felt cold dread creeping back in. "Something's coming," I whispered, gripping the charm tighter, feeling its warmth seep into my skin. "Then we need to act fast," the farmer said, his voice low. "I can explain what I know about the curse, but right now we need to prepare ourselves." Before I could respond, the barn door cracked open slightly, creating a thin line of light and revealing a shadow beyond it. "Stay back!" I yelled, adrenaline coursing through me. That's when I saw it, a glint of hollow eyes peering through the narrow opening, unblinking and full of malice. I felt the charm burn hot in my palm. "It's hunting," the farmer said, gaze locked on the malicious outline. "And we're running out of time." The door creaked again, the shadow pressing closer, and my pulse raced like a wild drumbeat. "What do we do?" I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Find something to barricade the door," the farmer said, eyes never leaving the gap where the creature lingered. I turned, scanning the barn. Stacks of hay bales loomed in the corners, and a few old tools hung on the walls, rusted but sturdy. "Grab those," I pointed to a pair of pitchforks leaning against a wooden post. My neighbor grabbed one while I took the other. We quickly shoved the hay bales against the door, creating a makeshift barricade, but the sound of claws scraping against the wood sent chills down my spine. "Will this hold?" she asked, panic creeping into her voice as she glanced back over her shoulder. "It has to," the farmer replied. "We just need time to cleanse the charm." "What are you talking about?" I felt the warmth of the charm fade and cold dread settled in. "How do we do that?" He took a deep breath, his brow furrowing. "There's a ritual, but it needs to be done with the moonlight. We must—" Suddenly, a violent crash broke through the air as the door buckled under the creature's relentless assault. My heart dropped. "It's getting in!" "Hold it!" The farmer hurled himself against the door, bracing it with his shoulder. "If we lose it, we're done." I pressed my back against the hay bales and waited, breath held, while my neighbor gripped her pitchfork, ready to fight. The creature snarled, a horrible sound that made my skin prickle. I could feel the vibrations of its movements, closing in, getting so much closer. "Now!" the farmer shouted,
The door shuddered again, the wood splintering at the hinges. "Get the charm ready." I clutched the charm tightly, feeling the heat stir anew. What if it wants it? What if I can't control it? "It wants your fear, not just the charm," he said with urgency, sweat glistening on his forehead. "You have to channel it, use that fear to fuel the cleansing." As the door jolted again, my grip faltered. I couldn't let go of the charm. I could feel the creature's energy crackling in the air around us, drawing nearer. And that's when I noticed it. The charm pulsed brighter, reacting to the creature's presence. In that moment, I knew it was more than just a trinket. It held something powerful. A roar erupted from the creature as it forced its way into the barn, the door finally giving way. My world spun as shadows filled the space, painting the walls with darkness. "Channel your fear," the farmer shouted, his voice breaking through the confusion. "You're the key." I could hardly think, heart racing, but I took a deep breath, focusing on the fear clawing at my insides. I raised the charm, letting its warmth guide me. Suddenly, I understood. I wasn't just holding the charm. It was a part of me now. The creature lunged, and I responded instinctively. "Leave us alone," I shouted, my voice ringing out strong and clear. As if in response, the charm flared with a blinding light, illuminating every corner of the barn. The creature halted, its hollow eyes widening, and I felt an intense connection pulse through me. "Now!" the farmer yelled, eyes fierce. "Do it!" I steeled my resolve, ready to fight back with everything I had. The barn trembled as the light intensified, and for a moment I felt like I might actually stand a chance. But then, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the barn floor. The sounds of chaos had faded. I blinked hard, trying to figure out where I was. The light from the charm was gone, replaced by a thick, suffocating darkness. "Where are you?" I called out, hope fading. There was no answer. I scrambled to my feet, heart thudding in my chest. The air felt different, heavy and damp, like I had stepped into another world. I stumbled forward, arms outstretched, searching for a wall or anything to guide me. Panic began to creep in again. Had we been overtaken? I tried to recall the last moments before everything turned dark. The creature lunging, the light, then nothing. "Farmer!" I shouted, voice trembling. I reached a wooden post, the rough surface reassuring. But the absence of light was unnerving. I felt vulnerable, like prey in the wild. That's when I noticed a faint glow ahead. My heart leaped. I moved toward it, cautiously stepping over what felt like scattered hay. The glow brightened as I got closer. "Help!" I heard a voice, muffled but familiar. "Over here!" I rushed toward it, finally breaking into a small beam of light where the farmer stood. He leaned against a wall, breathless and wild-eyed. "You're all right," he said, relief flooding his features. "I thought you were lost." "What happened?" I asked, shaking with confusion. "The charm, the creature?" He swallowed hard. "The charm's power was too much. The connection to the creature pulled us into its realm, but the light weakened it," he panted. "We were separated in the darkness." "What do we do now?" I asked, scanning the dim area around us. Other than the flickering glow from my charm, shadows stretched, looming ominously. "We need to find a way back to our world," he said, clenching his fists. "If we can gather our strength, we might be able to harness the charm again to gateway us out." I could run with that plan, but unease gnawed at my insides. "But what about the creature? It was here. It must be close." He hesitated, eyes darting around. "It's still a danger, but we've got to believe the charm can protect us, especially if we—" Suddenly, an unsettling growl echoed from the dark, reverberating through the barn walls. My heartbeat quickened as dread washed over me. I turned, clutching the charm tightly. "It's coming back!" The farmer raised his pitchfork, his stance steadying. "Get ready." Just as we braced ourselves for the worst, the creature broke through the shadows, its massive form emerging into the light. But this time it was different. The creature seemed almost wounded, its body quivering with an unnatural energy. "Hold firm," the farmer shouted, raising the pitchfork. "We need to confront it." As fear coursed through me, I felt the charm pulse again, unexpected and strong. But this time, instead of retreating, I took a step forward. That's when I saw it, a glimpse of the creature's eyes, filled not with malice, but something far worse, desperation. "Wait," I yelled, uncertain but compelled. "What are you?" The shadows around it shifted, and I felt a bond forming as it drew closer, its breath heavy and labored. I sensed it was trying to communicate, reaching past its instinct to harm. "Do it together," the farmer urged, his voice steady. "But what if it's just a trap? Trust the charm, trust yourself." I took a deep breath. We couldn't end this with fear. We had to find out what this creature truly wanted, because if we didn't, we might all end up lost together in the dark. With a nod, I raised the charm, ready to face whatever came next. Perhaps the answer lay in our shared fears, in understanding what connected us, rather than in the fight itself. Or perhaps it was already too late. I focused on the creature,
letting the charm's glow illuminate its form. The air crackled with tension, as if the universe held its breath. It took another step. The weight of its body echoed like a drum against the barn floor. The farmer shifted beside me, still ready with the pitchfork, but I could see uncertainty in his eyes. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. There had to be something beyond its growls and claws. The creature hesitated, its eyes narrowing, a flicker of understanding passing between us. In that instant, an image flashed through my mind, a scene from the farmer's tales, a time long before any of this started. It was a moment of joy, laughter, then betrayal and loss. "Is that it?" I whispered, piecing it together. "You're trapped in this world because of what happened 20 years ago. The treasure, it was lost, wasn't it?" An agonized growl rumbled from the creature. It staggered back for a moment, as though my words had struck a nerve. I glanced at the farmer. "Do you remember what happened?" He shifted, the pitchfork lowering slightly. "I buried it in the barn, but the rumors took over. I never imagined—" His voice trailed off as realization dawned on him. The charm pulsed again, brighter this time. I pulled it closer to my chest, feeling more connected to the creature with each heartbeat. "We can help you," I said, reaching out slowly. "If it's treasure you seek, we can find it together." With that, a new sound filled the barn, a grating, grinding noise that made the walls tremble. It was coming from a dark corner where shadows pooled thickest. I squinted, unsure if my mind was playing tricks. Then a small section of the floor shifted. "Is it the treasure?" the farmer wondered, voice low with awe and fear. The ground erupted as old wooden planks splintered and cracked. A glimmer of gold shone through the cracks, lighting up the barn with a soft glow. I gasped, recognizing that the weight of history lay right beneath our feet. "Stand back," the farmer said, pulling me away as the creature roared again, the sound a mix of fury and desperation. It lunged toward the light, its claws swiping at the splintered wood. "No, wait!" I yelled, panic gripping me. "Don't scare it!" But the creature barreled forward into the blinding light. My heart stopped as I realized I was frozen, entranced by the unfolding scene. The charm pulsed again, brightening with urgency, as if it sensed my fear and wanted to guide me. In that moment, the air thickened, and the light from the treasure began to smother the barn in a harsh glow. The creature stopped, turning its massive head toward me, the desperation in its eyes now less frantic, filled with an understanding that sparked a fleeting hope.
Please don't hurt it, I cried, stepping closer to the radiant chaos. But before I could fully comprehend what was happening, the
barn shook violently. The roar of the treasure's uncovering was deafening. Suddenly, everything went dark again as the charm flickered, and I felt myself pulled backward as if the whole space was being sucked into a void. My heart raced. What had we unleashed? I braced myself, and as the darkness enveloped me, I thought, we hadn't finished. The treasure wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something we needed to unravel, something greater than all of us. Where would it take us next? I opened my eyes to a cold, dim light. It was hazy and flickered around me like weak candle flames. I was disoriented, and everything felt out of place. The barn had vanished, replaced by an unsettling silence. Where had I ended up? I took a deep breath, trying to calm the rising panic in my chest. I found myself in a narrow corridor, the walls rough and damp. It smelled of earth and forgotten things. I turned around, but the way I'd come was lost in darkness. I was alone. A faint sound echoed ahead, muffled whispers. They floated toward me, teasing my curiosity. I hesitated, the fear bubbling inside me, but I stepped forward. I had to know what was happening. I had to find the creature. As I crept through the corridor, the whispers grew clearer. They weren't angry or mocking, but gentle, like long-lost friends trapped in memories. I strained to listen, and suddenly a phrase slipped through. Must warn the bearer. "Who's there?" I called out. My voice echoed, fading into the shadows. I pressed on, urgency fueling my steps. The corridor branched into another room, brighter this time. A large stone circle dominated the center, glimmering with patterns carved into its surface. They looked familiar, like the symbols I'd seen in the farmers' tales. That's when I saw it. A flicker of movement at the edge of the light. The creature. Its massive form was illuminated by the glow from the stone circle, but something had changed. It seemed ethereal, its body partly translucent. I hesitated, unsure if it was truly the same being I'd encountered before. "Help me," it spoke, not in roars, but in a deep, resonant voice that vibrated through me. "You must find the key. Only then can the truth be revealed." "The key?" I echoed, glancing around. "What key? Where?" "Time binds us here," it said, its gaze piercing through me. "You have the charm. It is the key to saving us all." I pulled the charm out, clutching it tightly in my fist. The warmth surged through me again, syncing with my heartbeat. "But I don't understand," I stammered. "What must I do?" The creature's form shimmered, shadows swirling around it. "You must return to the past," it said. "Find the treasure, protect it, reclaim it, before the darkness consumes everything." My heart raced. The notion of going back in time felt impossible. "How?" I asked, my eyes darting around for answers. The creature nodded toward the stone circle. "Stand within the light. It holds the power to transport you." I looked again at the circle, feeling its pull, but uncertainty gripped me. What if I can't find my way back? "If the key is true and you carry it with you, you will return. This path can only be walked with courage." The urgency in its voice sharpened my determination. I stepped toward the circle, the charm glowing brighter as I approached. The shadows began to swirl more violently around me, but instead of fear, I felt resolve bursting forth. Then, before I could lose my nerve, I stepped into the light. The ground beneath me trembled, and the air sparked with energy. The whispers intensified, spiraling around me. And in a flash, everything shifted.
I felt myself being lifted, pulled through a vortex of color and sound. When the world settled again, I stood in the barn, 20 years in the past. But everything felt different. The air was thicker, charged with emotion. And then I heard the first horror of betrayal being whispered through time. Someone was in the barn, and we were not alone. I stepped cautiously into the scene unfolding before me. The barn looked similar, yet it was alive with energy, pulsing with an air of dread. Straw scattered across the floor, and the scent of damp wood hung in the air. I approached the center cautiously, heart racing, knowing that every choice could alter the course of fate. At the far end of the barn, I spotted shadows moving, 2 figures locked in a heated dispute. I squinted harder, and my breath hitched as I recognized them. It was the farmer from before, yet a younger version, full of ambition and naivety, arguing with a man I didn't know, but who exuded danger. "Before nightfall you must seal it," shouted the stranger, urging urgency in every shaky gesture. "The charm will awaken ancient eyes. Don't let the lure of wealth blind you." I recognized the tension, the very same tension that had infected my life all those years later. To tread carefully was paramount. I felt the warmth of the stone charm in my pocket, its essence familiarly calming. But before I could process my surroundings further, the younger farmer snapped back. "You think I fear a few old tales? There's treasure buried here, and I will find it. You're just afraid of shadows." The words ignited a flicker of recognition. I knew this moment, a defining crossroads. The arguments would lead to grave outcomes for this man and for everyone in town. Without hesitation, I stepped forward, ready to intervene. "Stop!" I called out, my voice filling the barn. Both men turned to face me, confusion swirling in their eyes. "What are you doing here?" the younger farmer demanded, scanning my face for answers. I straightened, taking a deep breath. I came to warn you." The stranger's eyes narrowed. "This doesn't concern you. These men are fools, chasing dreams that only lead to ruin." "The curse?"
"It's real," I pressed, urgency guiding my words. "Don't dig any deeper. You won't find what you expect. You'll awaken something you can't contain." The farmer blinked, apprehension lining his brow. "And you are?" "I'm someone who's seen what lies beneath this land," I replied, feeling the ancient weight of the truth lifelong buried inside me. "This treasure is a trap. The stories are warnings. You can't let the past repeat itself." He faltered, glancing between me and the stranger, doubt pressing heavily. "What do you know of this?" "Everything," I breathed, glancing around at the fading daylight filtering through the barn's beams. "If you take this path, it can lead to devastation, not salvation. I only wish to keep you safe." The air thickened with tension, neither man ready to accept the truth before them. I sensed the pull of fate behind me, the weight of time pressing on my shoulders. The stranger stepped closer to the younger farmer, hand outstretched. "Don't listen to her. She's a specter from the past, nothing but a shadow." "Am I?" I challenged, feeling the sting of truth in my veins. "Or am I your chance to change what's to come?" Silence enveloped us momentarily, and in that breathless space I felt a pang of hope. The younger man was torn, the light of understanding flickering within him. "I won't let shadows dictate my choices," he finally shouted defiantly. But the weight of his decisions hung like heavy, dark clouds. Before he could act upon them, the barn shifted around me, an unnatural tremor, shadows swirling and gathering in a feral dance along the walls. The air grew cold, and the familiar whispers from my time echoed in an ominous crescendo. "Listen, you have to listen," I cried desperately. But it was too late. The whispers spiraled into screams as a dark energy manifested, coiling like a vicious serpent around us. Tension thrummed. The charm in my pocket felt like it might burn through the fabric as it pulsed, as if urging me to act.
In the heart of chaos, I lunged forward, gripping the charm tightly. "You need to help me. Together we can push this back." I held it out toward the unfolding storm of shadows, the light illuminating the barn as the echoes of the future reverberated with urgency. "Together!" The younger farmer, finally catching my resolve, stepped beside me, arm raised, eyes wide with realization. "Let's end this!" But the stranger, caught in fear, charged toward uncertainty, trying to escape, thinking he could outrun the shadows. "You foolish kids!" he cried. Before we could reach him, the dark energy struck, ensnaring him in its grasp. The shadows greased around him like claws, pulling him into the very darkness he sought to exploit, leaving only his anguished screams lingering. With a shuddering breath and flicker of resolve, the younger farmer and I released the charm's energy together, a brilliant beam striking toward the heart of the shadows, a radiant pulse pushing back against the encroaching darkness. For a brief moment, we were met with silence. A serene glow consumed the barn, displacing all shadows until nothing remained but the warm light around us. The energy ricocheted back through the beam, redirecting the very fabric of fate. I felt a forceful pull, and just as quickly the connection faded. The light flickered, and I spun. I blinked and found myself alone again in the barn. Only the soft sound of straw shifting underfoot met my ears. In the grasp of twilight, I wavered, the scene slowly settling in. I was still here, but what about them? A chill crept up my spine. What had I really changed? Was it enough? I whispered to the empty barn, heart racing. Would the shadow continue to linger here, hidden within its depth? Or had I just ensured the cycle would loop again, threading through the very fabric of time until someone else found the charm? I glanced at the ground. It was bare, no signs of the treasure we so desperately sought. Yet the air tingled with the remnants of magic, leaving me questioning everything I thought I'd just changed. I had returned, yet uncertainty clung to me. Would the farmers still remember the darkness I witnessed, or would they follow the same path? Would I ever discover if I had truly freed them? As I turned to leave the barn, the weight of possibility lingered in my chest. I stepped outside, the night sky shimmering with stars above. In this fragile moment, the path forward lay unknown. But in my heart, I could feel the warmth of the charm still resonating, a reminder that wherever darkness thrived, hope could always counter.